right. Great to have Chris Doring from SEC Network here today. Appreciate you, Chris. Couple things before we get going. Wearing my Carolina band shirt. Had a chance to go visit with our band yesterday, the Mighty Sound of the Southeast, led by Jay Jacobs. With yesterday being a day that we didn't practice, I went over there and visited with them. I get to do it every year at this time, which I always appreciate them inviting me. People see what we do on Saturdays, but there's a lot of people that put in a whole lot of work into what goes into a Saturday in Williams-Brice Stadium. So the band has been here as long as we have this August from a football standpoint, practicing, getting ready for September 5th. Love their passion. They are passionate about what they do, and they're a big part of game day in Williams-Brice and the pageantry of college football. So grateful to have the best band in the SEC right here in Columbia, and I really appreciate the opportunity to go visit with them yesterday. Best of luck. It's that time of year. We're starting up sports here at Carolina. So we've got our women's soccer team starting up tomorrow night. Oregon State coming all the way across the country into this heat here in the South and humidity. So tomorrow night at 7. So best of luck to women's soccer and Shelly and Jamie Smith as they get going, kicking off the 2026-2027 athletic year for Gamecock athletics. Steven Garcia, I know he put something on social media yesterday, was a big step for him in his battle with cancer. So he continues to kick butt when it comes to that battle, and proud of you, Steven, and I'll pull them for you and keep kicking its butt for sure. And then also, I'd be remiss, too, if I didn't mention how great our fields look out there. You guys have been out there for a couple practices, and Clark Cox and Tim Flanagan and Blake Keck have done a great job getting our fields ready and their crews throughout the summer. So our players use those fields all summer long in the weight room and training, and now we're out there practicing on it every day, and they're immaculate right now. So appreciate all of their hard work. Football-wise for us, day 4 was today, 4th practice. Yesterday was our mandatory 1 day off a week. So we had some meetings yesterday, got better from that standpoint after 3 really good days of practice. And then today was our first day back after a day off yesterday. It was hot, obviously. It was humid. Another day in shoulder pads, but into a lot of our situational stuff right now, third down, offense and defense, some red zone, 2-minute stuff coming tomorrow. But like where we are right now, I mean, some things that are evident that have stood out in these first few days is, just the way that our guys have worked and trained since January has carried over right to August. It's just a very mature, business-like, efficient group in so many ways. The freshmen have really, stood out, just being able to go dominate, these practices and workouts that they don't look like freshmen, whether size, speed, all that. They're really handling their business the right way. The older guys, a lot of those guys, I talked last week in the press conference about the summer that we had, and it's very evident. A lot of older guys on our team, whether it be returners or whether it be guys that have transferred in from other schools, they've changed their bodies in 1 year, and really this summer. You look at guys, Hank Purvis, for example, coming in, an older guy that's played a lot of football, coming from a Big Ten program that came in here, and he's changed his body, lost a lot of weight, lost body fat, and looks great, and he's moving better now than what he was during spring practice. And there's a lot of stories like that. Tommy Weil on defense, a guy that's been around for a minute and been at multiple schools, but coming in and is now as stronger than he's ever been as a college football player. And that's very evident watching the improvements that our guys made from spring practice to the preseason. So, kudos to Luke Day and his team. Productive 4 days, and then really again, these new coaches saw them in spring practice, but now they're more acclimated to what we're doing after going through spring practice, going through the summer with our players, and where they've picked up and kicked things off this year. Great, whether it's the returning coaches or newer coaches, they're great teachers. There's great intensity out there by our coaching staff. There's great energy. There's There's urgency in everything that we're doing, and that's very evident every time we take the field. So like the way that our guys are working, players, coaches, and staff. Big week coming up. We talked about it this morning with our players in the team meeting at 7:30. This is a big week because of everything we're throwing at them. Red zone, third down, 2-minute, short yardage goal line. We'll finish up with some work in the stadium on Saturday and be able to get out there and play a little bit. So big week that, we told them we would find out a lot about our team this week, and today was a good start. Questions?
Shane, any more new injuries that might have popped up this first week?
No, normal bumps and bruises. A couple things that flared up today. Want to get a full report on before we update anything. But, the two you're they're mainly interested in, Peak and Dylan, continue to progress. And then, it's that time of year in preseason camp. So.
And you've had a few days now with Neff Giwa actually kind of getting out there and showing what he can do. I mean, do you see him learning quick enough to be a factor in y'all's plans this year to maybe crack that top group of O-linemen?
Neff's a guy because of his size and his athleticism, David, that we need to, in my opinion, if he can help us, we need to figure out a way to get him on the field. And it might not just be offensive line. Surely that's where he's working. I think that's a big ask athletically. Yeah, you see him and you watch him pass set and you do things in drills, and it's very evident the skill set. I think asking him to be able to do it at the offensive line position, game one, that may be a reach, but at the same time, because he's got size, because he can run, because he's such a hard worker and great young man, special teams is an area that I think he could certainly figure in and do some things. But, we got to remember that so many of these things that we're doing, he's hearing for the first time. So we did kickoff return today, and, I just grabbed him and, okay, this is when the other team scores, they kick to us. So it's like rugby, but they put the ball on a tee and they kick to us, and now you would be on the other team. Our team is blocking and the other team is running downfield covering a kick. Or punt, we are on defense, Neff, and if you're on the punt return team, we've just stopped them. Now you're going out there and we're trying to block the punt, but if we don't block this punt, now you're blocking to try and help us score. Or if you're on the punt team, we're trying to punt, but we're trying to protect so they don't block the punt. And then we have to run downfield and go tackle. So it's like, it's refreshing. It's pretty cool. But, it's football one-on-one, but he's literally in every meeting, writes down everything, and has a great desire to learn. So it'll be pretty cool to see kind of the next step as we go through the season.
Hey, Shane, how do you feel like the offense is progressing so far with – the spring was about learning the playbook, but I feel like you guys probably have a good idea of, things are moving a little bit quicker now, and then you're heading to the first scrimmage on Saturday. What are you looking to see out of the offense?
Yeah, I like where we are right now, Jack. It's like I said, 4 days in, so first 3 days were good. Today we got in, Sunday, and then today a little bit more third down. So now Coach White's, he's got a lot coming at him from a defensive standpoint, protection-wise and things like that with what we're doing in practice. But I like where we are. We've gotten so much work in, Jack, from – spring practice, January and February when KB first got here with the offensive staff, teaching everything. Then you go through 15 spring practices, and then we got a lot of work done in June and July with our players on the field. We're allowed to do with them legally in the summertime. You can really get out there and get a lot of work done. So I think I like where we are. I think Kendall's done a great job in the offensive staff from an installation standpoint of, it's not just overload, just so much coming at them each and every day. It's really, here's what we're going to focus on these next couple days, and then here comes the next installation for a couple days, and allowing those guys to really get a feel for things. But like where we are, and then as we go through the rest of the week and into the weekend, really for me, it's, and we talked to our players about it this morning, here's what we need to see this week, and it's making sure that we just continue to practice this week with the effort that's our standard, the physicality that's our standard, the focus and attention to detail that's our standard, and that's obviously offense, but that's defensively, special teams as we go through the week.
On Jakarius and Dylan, have they been able to practice yet? And if not, do you guys kind of have a timeline for when you want to see them out there?
Yeah, they're at practice, and they're doing different parts of what they're able to, throughout the day as far as the timeline. Again, we'll go on what the doctors tell us. And like as I've said to you guys for the last month, Jordan, they're right on track and progressing nicely.
Hey, Coach. Mazio said during media day how he didn't stay home as a freshman just to leave when things got difficult. Just how have you seen that kind of mindset, I guess, carry into practice as he prepares for his junior year?
Yeah, just that's who Mazio is. I go back to high school. I mean, he's just he's a competitive, serious dude at all times. He's very serious about his work. He's very competitive. That was evident in high school when we recruited him, and I can remember Greenville High School being out here in the summertime for 7-on-7, and you saw like when the lights came on, for example, or so to speak, there was like a switch that flipped with him, and that's who he is. And then you see him, what he did as a freshman. Today was a 3rd and long day, and we showed it in the team meeting this morning, the touchdown catch he had at Alabama, in Tuscaloosa as a true freshman. I was 4th and 9, I think, but still it was third or 4th and down and long. But being able to come in as a true freshman and do what he did, and then last season I know didn't go the way that he wanted it to as far as his role, but he didn't pout, he didn't complain, he didn't threaten to transfer. It was the competitiveness in him came right back out, and I think he's done an amazing job since January of just working, just keeping his mouth shut and just going, not that he wasn't before, but just keeping his mouth shut, being all business and just going to work. And he's made he's had 4 really good days. He caught a touchdown pass today on the very last play of practice. It was a really nice play, him going up and making a catch at the end of practice and from Cutter, and hope to see many more plays, like that from him this year.
For guys like Jacarius and Dylan, and really anybody, when it comes to like the acclimation period, what are the specifics that you have to have guys going through that they're able to, I guess, start that clock, so to speak, and get going with?
Yeah, I mean, there's the NCAA requirements in regards to, there's an acclimatization period that all of our players are going through right now to be able to go full pads. So there's no different, but again, no different with them. But again, for us, it's, being able to practice, and we're not going to throw a guy out there in a game before he goes through a full practice with us. But again, we're following everything the doctors tell us and love where they are right now and the progress that they're making.
And with Neff and his total eligibility, I'm guessing he's got 4 years to play because of his birthday, or do you know the specifics?
I really don't
at this point.
I haven't dived into all eligibilities here for a while, so it's a good question. Okay, exactly. All right. She's had her hand up for like 10 minutes too, so make sure we get over here quickly, please. All right.
Coach, obviously for the fans, when Nick Harbor and Dylan Stewart and Lenoris makes the Bruce Feldman Freaks list, it's all the rage and stuff. But I'm curious behind the scenes about Nick. All the measurables, obviously he's number 1 on the list. What has he done as a player to continue to mature, to get better, and become a leader throughout his years here?
Yeah, I think just the way that he works, such a great young man. He's got such great humility about himself, but that's why he is, God blessed him with a lot of ability, don't get me wrong, but he's worked his way into becoming a really good football player with just the work that he puts in, the humility that he has. He walked into Carolina and had all kinds of expectations on him because he was Mr. 5-star coming in here and track athlete, and rightfully so, but he didn't ask for all that. And there's all these expectations on him, and that's a lot on a true freshman coming out of high school, coming to college in the SEC. But he knew what he didn't know, and he knew where he needed to grow and work. And Mike Furry's done a great job with him. Nick's done a great job of just working. I mean, I think I've told you guys before, I remember going back to his true freshman year, and every year or every week during the season, every college team has a mandatory day off, and every Monday as a true freshman, was our day off, and he'd be in here in the building, just outside, the weight room, just putting in extra work on his own on a day off, just trying to get better, whether it be releases, whether it be catch point. And he's really made himself into a complete receiver. And and has gotten better since last year too. So I'm really fired up about the 2026 version of Nicholas Harbor too.
Coach, I just want to know, what have you learned about the physicality and personality of your team since you guys have been in pads?
That they like to practice and they like that. You'd rather have to tell them, whoa, than pick it up. And we don't have to tell them to pick it up. If anything, it's whoa. And you love that about a team. Like, you got to, in football, like you can't say you're physical and tough and not practice that way. And we practice that way, and it needs to show up on Saturdays. But this team very much likes that too, and likes the physicality and the toughness and the grittiness and the ruggedness and the grind that it is when it's 95 degrees out there and hot and humid, and you're in pads and banging on each other for 2.5 hours.
Thank you. You mentioned Cutter Woods threw a touchdown pass at the end of practice. So how comfortable are you with his development? How would you feel if he had to step in and play a large role?
Yeah, I love where Cutter is. Last season, I mean, he came in at the end of the Oklahoma game, and one of the very first throws, or might have been the first throw, is he rips a ball across the field into cover two and hits what we call the hole shot in between the corner and safety, and you're like, gee, many Christmas, as a true freshman, he made that play. And kind of like what I just said about Nick, Cutter's the same way. You talk about a guy that gets mental reps in practice and utilizes every opportunity to get better. That's what Cutter does. So Cutter's a really, really good football player. Not just me, but our entire team. Phil has a ton of confidence in Cutter, and what a player and person he is, and he continues to do some nice things in practice, not just today.
When we were talking over the winter, I said that Darius Gray kind of had some Demetrius Knight energy just in the way he carries himself. What have you seen from him, so far in the start of camp, and maturity-wise, just kind of how has he stood out so far?
Yeah, he's pretty impressive. He really is. Just as a person, I mean, you forget he wasn't even here for spring practice. He just showed up in the summertime, and the summer that he had was elite. What he was able to do physically in the summertime was really impressive as a true freshman. And then what he's able to do is able to do so far in practice is impressive. Now, don't get me wrong, it's 4 days in. There's a lot of football, and he's got a long ways to go. But the initial impressions are really good. Just he's got his stuff together, and it's an impressive guy on and off the field. I pulled him aside yesterday, Lulu, because we're throwing a lot at him. And I told him, I'm like, look, man, like, I know we're throwing a lot at you right now and asking a lot of you. So if it gets to be too much, mentally, it gets to be too much, just, make sure you communicate, because you're the same person every day, but it's okay. And he's like, Coach, I went to St. Christopher's, which is a great school in Richmond. Shout out Coach Clellan at St. Chris in Richmond. But his point was, like, there's nothing that I can handle it. And that's just who he is. He's the same person every day, and he's not on this, like, emotional roller coaster of tough practices and tough challenges mentally. Just kind of goes about his business, and it's going to be a really, 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 really good player here.
With how much new players there are on the offensive line, why was it so important for you guys to have Shed come back after last season? And can you just talk about the progress that he's made since last year heading into camp now?
Yeah, a really important, good young player that started as a true freshman. And as I've told you guys, that was 3 years in a row that we've had a true freshman start on the offensive line. Josiah the year before. Shed came in, and he was really important, obviously, being from the state of South Carolina, a really good young player that had a solid freshman year, being able to come in and start in the SEC. But I think the thing with Shed, Jack, that is really important is just his position flexibility, the fact that he can play guard and tackle and do it well. Y'all have heard me talk about it. We want to have guys that have position flexibility up front on the offensive line, and he certainly does. And that was really important for him to come back. Yes, we've got a lot of new faces, but we've got a lot of returning guys on that offensive line too that it's time for them to take the next step. Shed going into his second year, Marquis Anderson, Blake Franks obviously has been here for a minute. So a lot of those guys, as Josiah and those other ones get healthy, but to have somebody that's been in the program, knows what this place is about, and has performed at a really impressive level on the field, you can't have enough of.
You mentioned how important this week is for the players, but specifically with some of the position battles going on, how big is this first scrimmage? Is this something where you want to have better answers come now that heading into the second one?
Yes, certainly. I think anytime you can be in a scrimmage situation where coaches aren't on the field, you're in the stadium, the lights are on, it's a great teaching tool, and it's a great barometer for us of where we are, just to be able to kind of see, mentally, physically, who can handle what right now. And again, no matter, that'll be a data point for us. I'm using 2024 college football playoff stuff that still irritates me, but that's a data point for us in regards to what we'll see on Saturday. But every day in practice is that. But, coaches are off the field the way that we do scrimmages, and the players got to be able to go out there and execute. And there are some position battles, special teams battles, all that every practice is important, but Saturday is kind of the culmination of the week. And then we'll see where guys are and where we are as a team after Saturday. And then, next week will be another critical week for us in camp, and then really hone in on things after that second week. But this week's so important because with us starting on September 5th this year, the preseason is shorter for us. So classes start here at Carolina next week. Most years, last year included, you've got really 2 full weeks of practice before school starts, 2.5 weeks. Well, this year for us, we really just have a week and a half before school starts. So this is really our last week where it's just football, no distractions. And then next week you get into a little bit more of a class mode. We're still in camp. I already told the players that, but they'll be leaving here after practice and going to camp or going to class after that. So it's a little bit different.
How have those kickers progressed, through the summer, and having gone through a kicking competition the last 2 off seasons? Did you learn anything through those about how you evaluate them and when you want to name a starter?
I think they're all 3 of them are doing well. Malik, Upton, and Max, we're getting them a lot of kicks in practice. We're really getting them more kicks in front of everybody in practice than we have before. As far as the timing of it, not really. It's not really like it's a quarterback position where you've got to get that, or an offensive lineman where you got to get that guy used to being on the field with the people around him. I mean, we could name a starter on Saturday during pregame warmups, and he's still got to go out there and perform. That's just life of a kicker. So nothing really from a time frame standpoint. When one separates themselves, we would certainly be willing to do that. I don't feel like we're to that point right now, but probably the one thing I've learned, Jordan, that we're doing a little bit differently is, like I just alluded to, we're getting those guys. We've always gotten them kicks in practice, but we're really just trying to manufacture ways to get them more kicks where they got to run on the field, snapper, holder, kicker, kick in front of everybody, and then get off, trying to make it even more game-like with how we do things in practice. And if there's a 10 or 15-second break in what we're doing offensively, defensively, and we can get a field goal kick in, then we're going to do it.
Shane, what have you seen out of Shane Busey this preseason camp? He's an older guy.
Shane Busey? That's my son?
David Busey, yeah. What have you seen out of him this fall, being an older guy and at least pitching old to say he might, be one of those starting guys once the season gets here?
Yeah, probably somebody that not enough people are talking about. I mean, he's another one that's just you talk about the mindset and the physicality and what we want to be about as a team and as a program. He fits that. He's just really serious about his work. Great young man. Same thing with him. You go back, to his freshman year, covering a kickoff against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and he hits the returner and jars the ball loose, and that's as a true freshman, and everybody kind of realized who David Busey was at that point if they didn't already. And then had more of a special teams role last year, a little bit more on defense, but now he's in a position where, he's one of those top guys, at the safety position that that we're counting on. And that's what I've just seen is just a guy that's steady all day long, David, and handles his business, tough, competitive, smart, and is doing a great job back there at the defensive back position and on special teams for us.
I guess every offensive scheme philosophy has pros and cons to it. With what y'all are doing this year with Kendall, does what he want to do mitigate pass rush at all and pressure on the quarterback? And how have you seen that come to pass with your guys in camp?
Yeah, I think there's certainly that's a valid point. I think he would tell you that when you're utilizing tempo, hopefully you're wearing defensive linemen out where when they are in a pass rush situation, let's say third down, that maybe they are a little bit gassed and can't rush it like they would if they weren't gassed. We'll continue to mix tempo in. That's not necessarily saying that we're going to go 100,000 miles an hour for the entire game. We'll certainly mix it in and keep our foot on the gas pedal and be aggressive. But, yeah, I think there's certainly something to that without a doubt. But whether we're running 60 plays a game or 160 plays a game, we got to be able to sit in there and protect the quarterback. And then as far as how I've seen it, I think it's great for our defense to be able to practice against what we're doing offensively and not just the tempo, but schematically what we're doing. That's really good for our defense to be able to and allows those guys to be in great shape. We're not having to do like old school where you get on the line and you run 4 gassers after practice. I mean, we get plenty of running in during practice because of not just with the offense. We've never done that after practice, but the way that we practice and the efficiency, and we're always on the move and people aren't walking. You should be in great shape when you get to Saturdays offensively and defensively.
You guys done any sort of position switches or experiments with guys trying out other spots to this point? Or
what are you alluding to?
I don't know. What are you alluding to?
The answer is no. Certainly, we've always got guys on our team, defensive guys that think they can play offense, offensive guys that swear they're a better DB than the DBs we have, and all that. So, I mean, I think you're always looking at how to get your best players on the field and think outside the box. But no, 4 days in, we've got enough going on right now trying to figure out – guys have enough going on trying to figure out what they do if they're on defense, what they do defensively, if they're on offense, what they do offensively. Are there some conversations that I may or may not have had hypothetically with certain guys about stuff down the road? Potentially, but that's down the road. But you're always looking, how do we get our best players on the field? And we've got some talented guys on this football team, and it's our job as coaches to make sure we get the best players out there that give us the best chance to be successful, no matter the position. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.